Michael Lucas was a name whispered with fear in the back alley of New York City. Known as one of the most ruthless gangsters in town, Michael had built his empire through a mist of charm, violence, and unyielding drive for power. He was handsome, with piercing green eyes, strong jawline, and a smile that disarmed even his enemies. Women adored him, and he revelled in that attention. He had no qualms about using his looks to his advantage, leaving a trail of broken hearts behind. But for Michael, love was nothing more than a fleeting distraction. He believed loyalty was for his gang and pleasure was for the night. In every bar, Michael was the center of attention. He would swagger in his tailor suit and slicked back hair, making heads turn. A cigarette casually dangling from his lips. He knew what he wanted and he always got it. He was a drunk, yeah? But even in his drunkenness, there was something untouchable about him, a force of nature, wild and untamed. Now, there came a lady called April Russell. She wasn't just any woman. April Russell had a quiet beauty that did not demand attention, but captured it nonetheless. She had long, waving black hair in soft waves. Her skin was the color of warm honey, and her eyes, dark and mysterious, seemed to hold secrets of their own. Unlike the women who usually fell at Michael's feet, April had an air of independence, of confidence, and an unspoken strength that intrigued him. Michael first saw her in a jazz club, a place he often frequented for a night of drinking and picking up women. She sat alone, listening intently to the music, her fingers lightly tapping the edge of a glass. She wasn't dressed in anything particularly seductive, just a simple black dress that hugged her figure in all the right places. But it wasn't her body that drew Jack's attention, no. It was the way she seemed utterly content being on her own, without the need for attention, without the desperation for validation. For the first time in his life, Michael hesitated. He had approached countless women before, wealthy heiresses, nightclub singers, even wives of powerful men. But April was different. There was something about her that made his usual confidence waver. He ordered another drink, took a long drag of his cigarette, and finally decided to approach her. Mind if I join you? Michael's voice was smooth. April glanced up at him, her eyes scanning him from head to toe, unimpressed. It's a free country, she said casually, not even bothering to smile. Michael slid into the chair across from her, thrown off by her indifference. You come here often? I like the music, April replied, sipping her drink and turning her attention back to the stage. Michael was baffled. Women usually were fond of him. They were fond of him. But April seemed completely disinterested. For the first time in years, Michael did not know what to say. He watched her for a moment, unsure of how to proceed. Then, in a rare moment of sincerity, he asked, "What is your name?" "April," she responded. "Michael Lucas," he offered, waiting for the usual recognition that came with his name. But again, April did not react. "So?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. He chuckled, more at himself than anything. "You don't know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are," she said, turning to him with a calm, steady gaze. "You are the guy that thinks he can buy his way into anyone's life, but I am not for sale." Michael was taken aback. No one had ever spoken to him like that. No one had ever dismissed him so easily, especially knowing his reputation. But instead of anger, Michael felt something else stir inside him, something deeper, more intense. He wasn't sure if it was his ego that needed to win her over or if it was something else entirely. The night ended without fanfare. Michael had tried, failed, and left the jazz club more frustrated than he had ever been. But he could not get April out of his mind. He found himself returning to the club night after night, and each time April was there, sitting alone enjoying the music. Eventually, their conversations grew longer. April did not seem impressed by his wealth or power. In fact, she found it distasteful. But there was something about her that made Michael want to be better, to be more than just the gangster everyone feared. He found himself cutting back on his drinking, wanting to be sober around her, wanting to be present. He even stopped chasing other women, something he had never thought he would do. As the months passed, Michael fell helplessly in love with April. It wasn't the kind of love he was used to, the shallow, fleeting passion that came and went. This was something deeper, something that terrified him. He realized he wanted a future with her, something real, something lasting, and for the first time in his life, Michael wanted to change. But it wasn't easy. His empire was built on violence, deceit, and manipulation. His gangs expected him to be ruthless, and any sign of weakness could be fatal. Michael knew that if he wanted a life with April, he would have to leave that world behind. But leaving wasn't just walking away, it was severing ties with men who would not let him go without a fight. One night, Michael made a decision. He would leave it all behind. His gang, his money, his power. He had enough hidden away to start a new life anyway. And with April by his side, he felt like he could do it. But as he made plans for their escape, things took a darker turn. Now, the twist of the story. Michael wasn't only one with secrets. April, as it turned out, wasn't as innocent as she appeared. She had her own past, one that was intricately tied to Michael's world. Unbeknownst to him, April had been working undercover for a rival gang. She had been sent to get close to Michael, to gather information and to destroy him from within. It was all a game, one that she had played well. But something had gone wrong. April had not expected to fall in love with Michael. She had not expected to see the man behind the gangster, the man who was trying so hard to change for her. As her feelings grew, her loyalties wavered. She found herself caught between her duty and her heart, torn between the life she had known and the life she could have with Michael. Michael, oblivious to her betrayal, continued to make plans for their future. He envisioned a quiet life far away from the city where they could start over. But April knew it wasn't that simple. She knew her gang wouldn't let Jack go, and she knew they were watching her every move. The night they were supposed to leave, April made a decision. She could not betray Michael, not after everything they have been through. She decided to come clean, to tell him the truth and face whatever consequences came next. But before she could, the door to their apartment was kicked open and Michael's world came crashing down. It was his own men, along with members of April's gang. They had discovered everything. April's betrayal, Michael's plan to leave, and they were not going to let either of them walk away. Guns were drawn, and in the midst of the disorder that followed, shots rang out. Michael fought with everything he had, but in the end, it wasn't enough. April was hit first, a single bullet to the chest, and she collapsed into Michael's arms. Her breathing shallow. Michael, overcome with rage and grief, took down as many of his attackers as he could, but he too was wounded. Blood poured around them as they lay together, the world around them fading. With her dying breath, April whispered, "I am sorry. I never meant to hurt you." Michael, holding her close, felt his own life slipping away. "I loved you," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "I still do." And in that moment, as death claimed them both, Michael realized something. He had spent his entire life chasing power, money, and pleasure, but none of it mattered. In the end, all that mattered was love. Now here is the unexpected ending. As Michael and April's bodies were found the next morning, the city whispered of their tragic love story. Michael Lucas, the notorious gangster, had fallen for a woman who had been sent to destroy him, only to be destroyed by love himself. But what no one knew was that April had left one final mark on Michael's life. Months before their deaths, she had uncovered a secret about his empire, a hidden ledger that detailed every crime, every dirty deal, every person who had ever crossed Michael's path. She had planned to use it against him, but in the end, she left it behind for a different purpose. In her final act of love, April had made sure that Michael's empire would crumble after his death. The ledger was leaked to the authorities, and within days, Michael's entire network was dismantled. Every corrupt official, every crooked businessman who had worked with Michael was taken down. Michael Lucas' reign ended not with a bang, but with a whisper, a quiet, calculated destruction that left the city forever changed. In the end, it was April's love, not his enemies, that brought him to his knees. And though their love story ended in tragedy, it was the catalyst for the change Michael had so desperately sought, even if he had never lived to see it. Their story became a legend, a tale of love and betrayal, of redemption and reign.